Merry Christmas, everyone! In July, it's Carter Plays back with another Disney Dreamlight Valley decorating video, and today we are doing all of the Christmassy things, and we are decorating our Frosted Heights and making it a little bit more holiday-ish. So I'm very excited about this build. As you can see, I wanted to deck out my character in an all red and green Christmas inspired outfit, so that's what I'm doing here at the beginning. But no, I'm very excited about decorating Frosted Heights with you guys today, especially because it's been a while since I've done a decoration video, and I've had the Disney Dreamlight Valley decoration itch. I've been wanting to get in my game and decorate for the longest time, and so I'm really glad that I took some time to officially do it for our theme this month, which was Christmas. So I'm really digging my red and green outfit. It took me a few times to find a shirt that I liked, but I ended up settling with the Wally shirt because I thought it looked like a little Christmas tree in the boot. So just getting started here, one of my favorite things to do is just clean up the area. It is so satisfying to take everything and just delete it. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm getting rid of everything. Every bit of tree, every bit of everything. And what I particularly liked about the Frosted Heights is that when I did get rid of everything, it was almost like a blank canvas because of all the white snow. So it was really exciting. But when I first started looking through the search and filters of looking through what decor I had available, I noticed that I did not have a lot of Christmassy things. I searched Christmas, I searched holiday, and like nothing was popping up. So I individually had to go down every single category and just look at every object that I own and see what things reminded me of a wonderful Christmassy time. And I just individually took every single object out and I just placed it in Frosted Heights just so I knew what I was working with. And I'm so glad I did that. I think I'll have to do that for my future decoration builds because it kind of helped me get a sense of where I was going. Any object that looked like Christmas or reminded me of what I was wanting to do, I put it in the biome. So I will remember to do that in the future. But my inspiration for Frosted Heights was I knew that I wanted, of course, Elsa's castle. Like the Arendelle castle had to go here just because it just absolutely fits. It could not go anywhere else. And so I knew I wanted an icy-ish Norwegian type of woodsy type of feel for her side of where the castle would be. But then I had the idea of, you know what? I have struggled to put Vanellope somewhere in my valley because her house is so colorful that it always seemed to really clash in all the other biomes. Although I have seen a lot of people starting to put it in the Teapot Falls, like where all the mushrooms are in the Storybook Vale, which I think looks really good. But I haven't unlocked everything over there yet, so it just kind of made sense to put Vanellope over here and make a kind of Candyland world. And so I ended up deciding to put all of that themed stuff over there. So I kind of am going to have like 2 separations or maybe even 3 separations in my build today. You're going to see an icy kind of castle separation and then a Candyland separation and of course our Christmas theme separation. So getting started, I wanted to start with Vanellope's side, mostly because I think most of my vision for her side, or it was the easiest to decorate in my opinion, because I knew that she was going to have these peppermint trees everywhere, which I do love, by the way. But let me tell you about these peppermint trees. They are a hassle. I don't know if you guys use them in your decorations, but trying to fit them in the build was actually really hard. The limbs of the peppermint trees are very low, so like my character can't walk underneath them, and they're just really finicky to like figure out how to lay out. So that was, I think, probably one of the hardest parts of decorating her side. But yeah, no, anyways, I kind of knew, I was like, okay, well, she's got to have like this racetrack around because that's what she does, and I have her car, and I have this sugary Candyland looking pathway, so it just makes sense that she would have that around her house. So that's kind of what I envisioned, and that's what I'm doing right now, is trying to figure out how much pathway I'm going to need to put around her house. So I actually had the idea too of putting those cherry trees that already are available in the Frosted Heights biome, and using that as part of her, like, a little garden for Vanellope. I thought it made a lot of sense because the cherry trees are this bright pink, and everything over there on Vanellope's side is all the color, all the pink. So it just kind of worked out that way. But yeah, no, I had a lot of the sugary pathway and peppermint trees. So it all ended up looking like it just belonged over there. So I was really glad that I did settle with that. The pathway also was a little tricky just because trying to figure out the dimensions of what I wanted to do with it became such a hassle. I moved everything around more than once, just trying to make sure everything proportionally fit where I wanted it to. And I didn't want the pathway to be like straight either. I wanted it to feel like it was a real racetrack, and I feel like racetracks don't always have a straight linear just path. So I did make this one have a little bit of turns. I kind of gave it a little bit of a Mario Kart kind of vibe, right? Like, it's not just a circle racetrack. It's got to go in different turns and areas. So that's what I'm adding in right now. But my inspiration also was literally the game Candyland. Like, did you guys ever play Candyland before with the board game? And it's got just all of these sugary candies everywhere and the pathway spaces, and you're hopping from square to square. That's kind of also what my inspiration was. I was like, I feel like candy and gingerbread men and peppermints and Candyland world, that all fits in the Christmassy vibe, right? In the wintry vibe in Frosted Heights. So I was like, this totally makes sense. Like, this has got to go together. But one thing that I also found myself struggling with is making a pathway to Vanellope's door. I could not really come to a place where I felt settled on what I liked. Originally, I had used the opposite of the bordered pathway. So I'd used the bordered pathway as the road for Vanellope's racetrack. And then I used the opposite, the one that doesn't have the border, for just the pathway to our house. And I ended up not liking it. I just felt like it was too close together. Like, it just looked the same. And I ended up not really liking that. So you'll see I'll add this whole path to the bridge and it just clashes, right? It just looks like it's too much. So I started to like take some of them away, as you can see here, because I thought, oh, maybe it'll make it look like it's been snowed on top of and some of it's missing, like when you walk. But I don't know why that just like did not work. And it actually started snowing here, which was really funny because that's what I was trying to envision, was like, oh, what would it look like if it snowed on top? But I'll eventually change that later in the video because I just did not like how it looked. I thought my second solution was a little bit better. But we pretty much finished, I think, the like base and foundation for Vanellope's land. So a lot of the rest of it was just trying to figure out, okay, where am I going to put some of, some flowers, some bushes. There were these pink bushes that I think come with Storybook Vale maybe. And I just thought they had this lovely magenta color and just kind of gave some of that color that you get from Vanellope's house and added it to the biome. I'm really loving how every time we get a new DLC content, we get all of this other foliage and items that we wouldn't have thought to have used or even dreamt of using in our decorations of when we first had our valley. But now that we have it, it's like I cannot help but use other things from other biomes. Like, it just makes more sense, right? This just really matched Vanellope's vibe. So, and I got the idea, and I loved this idea of taking snowballs and just throwing them on the ground. I really loved that. And I used that all over the Frosted Heights biome. So that was exciting. Next up, we're going to have the Arendelle Castle. And this was very interesting. When I tell you guys, I struggled. It all started because I put down the Arendelle Castle and was going to make this courtyard, kind of similar to what you would experience and see in the movie. I actually looked up movie pictures to try and see what the courtyard there looks like. And I thought maybe I was going to simulate that here. And really, I think what the problem was, especially a problem that I have every time I've decorated in Disney Dreamlight Valley, is that I kind of have this problem with just doing everything very like straight lined, straight boxes. But, you know, I think what ends up happening is everything just ends up looking very blocky, which is fine if that's what you prefer, but it just felt a little off to me from what I was envisioning. And so I really had to play around with what I wanted. I tried so many different methods until I realized that the thing that was missing was actually the shape of the pathway. It didn't need to be this big giant block of brick. What it needed to be was a shape. So later on in this video, you're going to see that I'm going to play around with the shape of the pathway, and oh man, what a huge difference that's going to make. I had to finagle a lot of the objects that I had put out because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I ended up having this ice skating rink, and I realized I was like, oh my gosh, a park, like an ice skating rink park. And so I started experimenting with that and gave the castle a rest for now, but ended up really loving the ice skating rink park. That really comes together towards the end, and I love how it turned out. It's like my favorite area of the whole decoration video. But yeah, no, so I'm just moving objects around, trying to figure out what's gonna work, what's gonna not work. The more I decorated, the more I realized what I wasn't gonna use. I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna use this, and I would just delete it. But yeah, no, I think I started putting the igloo over here because I realized I was like, the igloo is too close to our ice skating rink and it doesn't match up. So I started putting it over here, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet, but it comes together later in the video. But yeah, no, let's talk about this shape that I'm about to start changing here. So I erased the whole thing, and then I started experimenting with a snowflake shape. Oh yeah, I got so creative with this one, and y'all, I was scared, but it was definitely a trust the process moment. So I put down this snowflake shape, right? I start filling it in, and immediately I felt so much better because I was like, yes, this is what it was missing. It needed a shape instead of it just being a block. That was able to give me some ideas of where I wanted to place the surrounding objects. I tried to experiment with the foliage and wasn't pleased with it, so that's what's happening there. But once I put the shape down, I realized I was like, oh, and what if it had pathways coming out of the sides? And so you'll see I'll start adding some pathways to the sides and start figuring out what I want to do on the sides of the castle. So that really was my biggest hiccup, I think, in decorating the entirety of Frosted Heights, was the courtyard in front of the castle. Once I figured out that, I figured, ooh, well, what if there was like a little space for Kristoff to take his sled, right? Like he's gone out and gone on an adventure. He's bringing back supplies to the castle or neat things he's found. So I started putting a little pad for his sled and all his belongings over there. And this is where I started experimenting with making curved pathways again. So if you have watched my video of how I decorated my plaza, you guys will realize that I made these curved pathways, and it was such a struggle because I did not know how it was really going to come out, and it was really hard to do. Like, it was not an easy thing to put together. It was one of those things where it's like, I'm doing it in the moment and I'm not liking it now, but I feel like when I finish, I will. And when I did finish, I was like, oh, it's perfect. So if you ever want to try a curved pathway, I super recommend it. I feel like it gets you out of a creative rut when you're able to see curved pathways. I don't know, it just helps break the monotony of just the straight easygoing pathways that we just like to put down. I even experimented like that with my well. I put a little well to the side of the castle too. Decided to put a shape over there, so that was really fun. I loved that. And with the courtyard area, I went back and I tried to put a straight pathway again. This was another mistake. I don't know why I could not stop putting down just straight roads. Once I realized that it was causing me a hiccup again, I was like, okay, well, we're just going to have to make this pathway curved. So you're going to see, I'm going to make this entire pathway curved. And y'all, just watch the transformation. You are going to be so shocked. You're going to be like, holy moly, that turned out so much better than what you had before. But yeah, no, it's such a fun process watching it come together, I feel like, because like I said, it's not an easy thing to do when you're decorating. You really have to like finagle it and mess around with the rocks and the stone pathway a lot. But watch what happens though when you start to see that curve come together. It just looks so much more natural. And really what I think it does the most is it gives it this effect that you're walking up to something instead of it just being like you walk straight ahead. Like it almost gives it this dimension effect that there's more footage ahead of what you're going to. And I really, really appreciated that. So once we put the curved pathway down, I immediately fell in love and was like, I walked it. I like put my character down and walked it and was like, yes, that is what it missed. That's what it needed. I experimented a lot with foliage here. I think it was a little too early to start playing with the trees and the bushes and stuff. I just wasn't settled on anything yet. I tried to do a lot of purples if I could find any purples. I quickly realized though that the purples were just not it. Not because they weren't pretty, but I just felt like they were too strong for my current design. I ended up thinking the Frosted Height bushes specifically were a better fit because they were more tame and more mild and just fit the blueness of the ice better. So I tried to experiment with that too. I think I ended up deleting it though. Yeah, I deleted it because I decided, I was like, it's too early. I need to move on and try some other things and maybe I'll come back to it. So these big giant blue willow trees are beautiful, but they are truly so big. And I did struggle a lot because I was like, oh, they're just so big, you know. I don't know if they're just too big, but I think for something as grand as the Arendelle castle, you have to have those big, beautiful trees to kind of, again, give it that effect that you're walking up to something. So I really did enjoy that. So I ended up kind of giving a break to the Arendelle castle, and I decided it was time to move on, and I was gonna come back to the castle later and start working on my ice skating rink. Y'all, I was so excited about this. I had great vision for it. I was thinking and trying to lean into like, ooh, like what about Home Alone, right? Everybody's outside ice skating together, and you know, like that's kind of like just an ice skating rink park, right? Everyone's got a place to sit. There's really nice lighting with these lanterns. So that's what I was going for. What I ended up deciding is that actually one rink was not enough. So then I put 2 down, and then I was like, I don't know. I feel like if I want to make this truly feel like a park, I need more than just 2. I need 4. So I ended up putting 4 rinks down. I had to move a lot of stuff around, but I ended up putting them as close to the pond as possible. And y'all, I'm telling you, it was my favorite thing. Like, look at how that turned out. It looks so natural. Like it was supposed to be a part of the biome. And I cannot wait to show you guys when we get towards the end what it looks like at nighttime with all of the lanterns lit. It's magical, y'all. Magical. So yeah, I'm just kind of playing around, putting some other things there. I decided to when I was thinking about the ice skating rink, I was like, oh, it's got to have a hot chocolate stand. It's got to have snowmen, snowballs, snow castle. Like people obviously have fun. They come to the park and they just have fun. So I added all of those really fun decoration items that really made the space feel more complete. So I was excited about that. And it really didn't take a lot of objects, I feel like. Just putting the rinks down itself, that alone made such an impact that adding those few touches at the end, like the snowman, it really yes, it completed it, but the ice skating rink was such a great buy. I was so glad I bought more of those. It really filled the space in. So then I started to work on the third and final portion of Frosted Heights, which was going to be the Christmas Plaza. Now, I will admit, I did struggle a little bit with the Christmas Plaza. One, because I did the same thing that I had done with the castle, is that I started making a pathway and it just was a little too straight. It was just a big giant brick block again. And that was my first mistake that I made with the Christmas Plaza. I eventually ended up putting something a little bit more fine-tuned with borders around the pathway, which did help a lot, I feel like. But another reason why I struggle with the plaza was because, you know, I don't know if it was because I felt like for a plaza, I wanted it to feel more like a village. And I had looked up some different inspiration photos online of like what other people had done with their Frosted Heights, and a lot of people had these beautiful Christmas villages, but I didn't have any of the buildings that they had, the shacks that they had, the bakeries that they had. So I was a little disappointed that I wasn't able to add some more buildings to really make it feel like a Christmas village. I tried and did what I could with what I had, and I think it was successful in simulating that, but I definitely feel like if the premium shop does give me any options for any kind of buildings that I feel like could help with that, like I know I've seen a coffee shop before, I may come back and add that to the side just to kind of help with the effect that I'm going for. Because I want it to feel like a little Christmas plaza, you know, with shops. Like if you were to go to a Christmas town in like a Hallmark movie or something, that's what I want it to feel like, right? That there's cookies that you can buy, coffee, hot chocolate you can buy, and you're all surrounded by the Christmas tree, or you can go ice skating, right? You can go to the wondrous Candyland that's across the river. So yeah, no, but I did really try though. I did use the Main Street brick that I thought gave a really nice pop of color against all of the very colorful toys that I put next to the colorful tree. And then I put this bordered brick stone block, and that I was okay with because it felt like a nice pad to put these really festive chairs out. And I opted for these really nice Mickey lanterns that I love. I love that they're Mickey themed. And I ended up cooking Minnie's gingerbread cookies, some hot chocolate. I think I cooked some Yule log, and I put that all on top of the tables like people had been eating festive treats. I ended up also putting Kristoff's stall at this area because I wanted it to feel again like a Christmas plaza, like you could like buy certain things, and he's got some crates and some carts and buckets there for all the supplies that he brings from his adventures to sell. I think where it really started to come together though is I found this wonderful red counter that's supposed to be for a kitchen, but I ended up using it to again simulate like there's this cafe type of area that people come and buy these treats and hot cocoa and stuff. So that'll be really exciting when you guys see me put that down, because I feel like that really brought the space together. With the igloo itself, I just ended up putting some more objects to the side, like a cart, a little snowman, a bucket, an ice bath. Maybe it's a hot bath. I don't know what kind of bath it is. But I thought, hey, you know, it's a Christmas Plaza village. You know, you got to have a place to stay. So maybe you're staying in the Christmas village, Christmas Plaza, and in the igloo. You know, maybe it's a what do you call it? Like an Airbnb. It's an Airbnb igloo. But yeah, no, I think at this time, is this where I find the counter? Or no, I was actually looking for, yes, this is the counter. So yes, look at this red counter. I put it out, started putting objects on top of it, and was like, yes, this is what we needed. So I was very excited about that because I just felt like it brought it together. It really made it start to feel more like it was a place where you could order some food and some drinks. So, and really that red brought in a lot of the red from the festive chairs and the Christmas tree. So I really enjoyed that as well. I think I went back through my inventory to see if there were any more objects that I could find that I wanted to put out, but everything at this point started to feel excessive. I was like, no, these spaces fit right now. They seem to work. I think anything else that I put out in any of these spaces is just going to feel excessive. I need to just kind of let it breathe, you know? So except these lightings, oh man, let me tell you about these lights that I used. I discovered that I had these blue lights in my inventory, and I was thinking they kind of look like ice. I should use this in front of the castle. So I think I cut that part out in my decoration video, me putting them in front of the pathway, but wait till you guys see them at the very end when we do our walkthrough. Oh, because I thought it turned out so good. I thought it complemented the castle very well. So just putting in some last final touches before we do our walkthrough. We are almost there, you guys. And yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this. And yeah, I'm very excited for how it all turned out. I'll let the walkthrough just play with the peaceful Dreamlight Valley music, and hope you'll be able to kind of just use this video as maybe inspiration for your Frosted Heights. Hopefully this has sparked some imagination for you and your decorating. But this was such a joy to do. I love that it matched our theme this year and that we were able to incorporate it into our Christmas in July. But like I said, thank you so much for joining my decoration video and for supporting my content. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye, you guys.